Welcome to Raging Moderates. I'm Scott Galloway.
And I'm Jessica Tarlov.
A manhunt is underway for the gunman who killed conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Investigators say they've tracked the suspect's movements and recovered a rifle from a nearby roof. The shooter is described as male and college-aged. President Trump called Kirk's death a dark moment for America, blamed the radical left, and said he'll award Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Kirk was a central figure in reshaping the GOP for the social media era, credited with energizing Trump's youth vote. Let's watch the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, reacting to the news.
Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk.
Jess, what do you make of this?
It's an incredibly tragic thing that happened. I was at work yesterday at Fox when it was reported that Charlie was shot, and then was there for several hours afterwards, including when he was pronounced dead. People crying, information flying around all over the place, no one really knowing what to say and just being so scared. I knew Charlie. I used to debate Charlie. I saw him just about a month ago, actually, on the morning that I interviewed Secretary Clinton. I ran into him at Fox, and he was so nice and friendly and told me I had been doing such a great job on the Five. Obviously didn't agree with me, but thought that I was doing an excellent job, and asked me what I was up to. And I said, I'm about to go interview Hillary Clinton. And he said, that's so exciting for you. I remember back in 2016 when you used to wear your little Hillary Clinton novelty watch to your debates when I would see you around the studio. And I can't stop thinking about his little babies, his 3-year-old daughter and his 1-year-old son and his wife. And the fact that we're looking at these posts of remembrance, and the start date to his life is just 1993. This was a kid that was taken. And I have a lot to say about the politics of it, but I thought that Ezra Klein really summed it up well when he said that Kirk was practicing politics in exactly the right way. He was showing up to campuses and talking with anyone who would talk to him. That doesn't mean that his beliefs weren't in some cases even abhorrent. I have expressed that. I've called him Islamophobic. I have called him an election denier and gone back and forth with him about it. But he was doing this in the right way, and he was facing people who disagreed with him in a nonviolent way, and his life was taken unnecessarily. And it's just tragic, and it portends very dark things for the country. What about how you're feeling?
Yeah, look, I've said it'd be disingenuous not to all of a sudden change my tune. I think Charlie Kirk spread a lot of hate speech, and quite frankly, a lot of his comments were bigoted. I think a lot of Democrats had a lot of resentment of Charlie Kirk because he was so effective, because his format, to your point, was really powerful. He would go on campus and he would say, prove me wrong. And he'd set up, and it really was an important dialogue. And sometimes he would point out that a lot of young people with quote unquote progressive views were not critical thinkers and could not defend some of the things that they believed. And at the same time, a lot of videos show students showing what incredible critical thinkers they were and pushing back on him. And that dialogue, that discourse is really important. And beyond the tragedy of a 31-year-old father of two being murdered, one of the really many upsetting things about this is that college is supposed to be a safe place physically and a dangerous place intellectually. And that is, we are supposed to challenge your views and be provocative and say, upsetting things. And he was doing that he sort of fit the ethos of a university. I don't think he was ever lot of people would say he was mean-spirited, but for God's sakes, he was never violent. He never advocated for violence or anything like that. So this is terrible. But also, just hearing you speak, Jess, to be blunt, your tone here is distinctly different than many conservatives, including those you work with, on this issue. You are being magnanimous, generous, saying, speaking. Basically, everyone on the left has said some version of the following: this is a tragedy. This is unacceptable. On the right, we have people saying,
this is war.
That MAGA will avenge Charlie Kirk's death. That this is a quote, they are at war with us, said your colleague Jesse Waters. Is that going to help? Should we have declared war on MAGA when a guy showed up and murdered a couple in their home and their dog and then went to another house and shot 2 other people? Should we have declared war? So I would argue, while we're always in a position on the left that we're supposed to understand and feel the pain of the right, how come the left's response is so much more civilized and trying to turn the temperature down, and the right is led by the president saying it's the radical left? Was it the radical left that tried to burn down Governor Shapiro's office? Was it the radical left that was planning to kidnap Governor Whitmer? I mean, this shit, what you saw from the governor of Utah was someone acting like a president and acting like a true elected leader. And I'm disappointed that the place that we should have should be the safest place for really robust intellectual dialogue, sometimes not intellectual dialogue, but dialogue and discourse that Charlie was bringing to these campuses, that will be further squelched and sequestered. I'm supposed to speak at San Diego State, and someone close to me, I don't have nearly the footprint of a Charlie Kirk, so I'm not worried. But someone close to me has just said last night, you're not going.
Yeah.
You're not going. Comedians have stopped going to campus, and now political figures are going to stop going to campus. So this is a real shame. And trying to reverse engineer this to one political party or the radical left, or it's just not helpful. If we were to look at who I think, and I want to get your response, is responsible for this, or to disarticulate this into causes of this. One, we have the most profitable companies in the world with a huge incentive to use their godlike technology to enrage us and get us pitted against each other online. And I think that is how I think the enragement equals engagement, which equals Nissan ads, is taking a slow simmer to a boil in our country. Two, there are so many young men who are sequestering from society with remote work, lack of friends, lack of romantic opportunities, lack of economic opportunities. When you don't connect with friends, mentors, and mates, you become susceptible to the crazy shit you're seeing online, and you have no guardrails to say, what the fuck are you thinking? Or no, that makes no sense, or stop it, or that is not true. And then the third and final thing that nobody seems to be taking a leadership role on here is we don't have a monopoly on divisiveness. We don't have a monopoly on lonely young men. We have a monopoly on divisiveness and lonely young men with access to weapons of war. And in the UK, this year, there will be 30 deaths by gun. There will be 30 gun deaths the full year in the United Kingdom. There will be 30 deaths in the United States from guns in the next 6 hours. In the next 6 hours. Your thoughts?
There's no way to disagree with anything that you just said. I want to add that we don't know who the shooter is here, and being able to pull off a perfect shot from more than 200 feet does indicate that this was a professional. Some people are saying even intelligence asset trained level. More developing in that story, access to these weapons of war. I talk about it every single time. I get poo-pooed by my colleagues. It's not the time for this. It's not the time for this. It is always the time to talk about the thing that is taking lives. And there was a school shooting as well yesterday, just outside of Denver. So lives lost. Charlie Kirk's also a student there. To the point about the rhetoric, I was trying to parse my thoughts and think about, how I wanted to present right now in talking to you. And I wanted to lead with the fact that Charlie Kirk was a real human being that I knew, and that he has babies. And that I also wanted to say that I'm so disappointed that so many on the left keep going back to the well with these good wishes and with the right sentiment, and are met with this violent derogatory rhetoric that demonizes people who vote like us. And that doesn't mean there aren't lunatics online that are celebrating his death. I see it in the comments because I posted something nice about Charlie. But when the president of the United States of America ignores the fact that a Democratic elected official was murdered, I mean, flags at half-staff for Charlie? Yeah, sure. What about for the Hortmans? And what you said about Josh Shapiro, Paul Pelosi, they mocked him when he was attacked like that. And I want to walk myself back from the edge all the time of saying the American project has failed. But it's in moments like these where I do feel that way. And I'm not talking about democracy writ large or how great capitalism is or the fact that immigrants from all over the world are desperately trying to get here because this is where you can build a business. This is where you can have this incredible dream. I'm saying the fact that we can't, and it's 9/11 today on top of it, that we can't just all be on the fucking same page for a second and talk about what's really going on here and acknowledge the fact that there are violent psychopaths on the left and there are violent psychopaths on the right that are taking lives. And the president does set the tone. That's why you have the bully pulpit. That's why you are the most important person in the entire world. And listening to him last night just demonize and degrade broke my heart on top of thinking about Charlie Kirk's little kids that are going to grow up without their father. And it's appalling what is going on in this country. Just appalling.
120 people will die today from gun deaths in the United States. And the question is the rhetoric post this tragedy helping? And what actions might actually bring that number down? Anyways, thanks for doing this on such short notice, Jess.
Thank you.
We'll have more to say on this in the subsequent few days.